Welcome everyone to the Sister Stories podcast. This podcast's aim is to marvel at God's sovereignty over each of our lives as women and to encourage one another by sharing our stories. My name is Sophie and today I am joined by Abby.
Hello.
Hello Abby, welcome. First of all, can you tell us a bit about who you are?
So I'm Abby. I'm been coming to Cornerstone for about 10 years now with my family. I'm part of the Dryden clan. I'm the oldest. So my parents are Dean and Chris. And yeah, there's 5 of us. So it's quite a lot of people around. Yeah. And we just seem to be growing as well. So yeah.
Okay, can you tell us what job you do?
I'm a midwife, so I qualified as a midwife in September, and I've been working at Kingston Hospital since then. I love it. It's hard work, but I do love it. Really, it's really a special job to do. Yeah. Oh,
that's great. So you're a fairly local person, right?
Yeah.
Have you moved around a little bit?
Yeah, so we lived in Fulham for most of my childhood. All our family was there, and we actually lived in a flat above the church we went to. Right. So that was interesting. That was a lot of fun. And then we moved to Roehampton for a year to help with the church plant. And then we moved to Chessington after that. And then, so we've been in Kingston, the area, for quite a while, and then moved to Kingston a few years ago. Yeah.
Right. So moving around, but not too far away.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So obviously, well, in the church, most of us will know the Drydens, but can you tell us a little bit about your family and what it was like growing up?
Yep. Growing up with a lot of brothers and sisters was a lot of fun. A little bit, sometimes can be a bit annoying. Just want some peace and quiet, but like that's fine. I don't really mind too much. But yeah, as I said, we lived in a flat above a church, above our church. So we were literally always at church. And my dad was the youth pastor there. So we would always be going to different events. I remember from a really young age, always like going out to different things, different conferences, different like youth camps, kids camps, all that kind of stuff. And we would always do like devotions in the evening, before like going to bed and stuff. And there'd always be conversations about, the Bible and Jesus. And that was really helpful to me, growing up. And even at my primary school, my parents were quite known there as well, and all my friends knew that my dad was a youth pastor, and he would often come and do assemblies for us. We would have dance teams from Canada and the US come over and do different camps with us, so they would always come to the school and do sessions and workshops. So it wasn't really never really was a secret that we were Christians, and they would often come to the Bible camps that we did over the summer as well. And that was a lot of fun, and I think made it a lot easier for me growing up in a Christian home. And I think having my friends know that we were Christians and we really lived it out was helpful as well.
Yeah. Would you say that your friends responded positively to that, or not always? Or how was it at school to be known as the youth pastor's kid?
For the most part, it was fine. Like my friends kind of loved the fact that my dad did all these crazy things. And sometimes it was difficult when like my friends had things they wanted to do with me on Sundays or whatever, because they knew I wouldn't be able to go because of church and stuff. But that was hard sometimes. And when they would come over to our house as well, I would always feel a bit awkward sometimes, because before dinner we would always pray, and I would always feel like, oh no, what are they going to think of me? But actually I think it was really important that they saw that as well.
Yeah, and in a way it's kind of forces you to be vocal about it.
Yeah, exactly. I can't really hide from it.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't shy away from it, really. Can you?
No.
Oh, great. So can you tell us a little bit about like what happened next in a way, or how you grew up, what developed in your life?
So we started coming to Cornerstone in 2012, and after a year of trying to plant this church, which didn't really work out, and I think we needed kind of a community, a family at that time as well. So Cornerstone was really, really helpful to us, and also to me as well, as I was kind of entering my teen years, which can be a really tough time. And I think definitely being part of the youth group here really made me start thinking seriously about Christianity and where I would end up. I remember we did... there was a talk that someone did, I can't remember who, during a youth event about heaven and hell. And it really made me realize that heaven and hell are real places, and I was going to end up there. And I had to kind of decide where I wanted to end up, really.
Yes.
So it was kind of a scary a realization for me, I think. And after that, I was kind of trying to think about these things a bit more, and I really wanted to give my life to Christ, but I wasn't sure how to do that. I think, it was an interesting time.
Yeah, and in a sense, because you've been pretty much at church your whole life, there might be a sense in which, yes, you know Christians around you, and it's normal to be amongst Christians, but when I'm actually questioning things, maybe it's harder to find that space sometimes. Okay. What would you say was your understanding of the gospel at that point? Would you say that you fully understood it, or you hadn't quite made it your own in a way?
Yeah, I think I hadn't quite made it my own. I think it was still mainly my family's kind of belief, and I did believe that God was real and Jesus was real, and that he had died on the cross, but I don't think I kind of had made it my own kind of faith. I don't think that was that hadn't happened quite yet, but I grew up also being part of Contagious, which is a youth conference that we love at Cornerstone, and so I'd gone for a couple of years, and I remember the year when they did the Dem Bone series. So it was talks from Ezekiel, and there was also a talk in John about Lazarus being raised from the dead. And I remember being explained that Jesus had called out to Lazarus in the grave, and he had wept. I remember that really clearly. And I could hear him then weeping outside the tomb for me to come to him. And I think that was when I decided that I needed to go to him. And so that was when I decided to make our family faith my own faith, and commit my life to Christ.
Yeah, and that's great to see that, all the things that you heard at church and in your family kind of paved the way for that to happen, obviously. And it's such a blessing that sometimes we forget that actually we have the chance to teach the kids in the Sunday school or in the youth groups, and actually that would be a strong impact in their lives. And it's really beautiful to see that in your life. And I know you're now a leader in Soul, right? Yeah. So you can do the same for these kids. Which is great. How's that going, by the way?
I love Soul. I love the youth here. It's so much fun. It's just chaos most of the time, but it's great. And I think having grown up in this youth group, it's great to finally be a part of serving them and kind of giving back in a way, but also kind of knowing the importance of these years, the teen years that they're going through now. Like it's a really tough time, and you're being told all these things by our world, and they're just completely not in line with what the Bible says. And so trying to show these kids what the Bible says about these things, and being so countercultural is so important. Yeah.
I'm sure they will really value how you've gone through with the years. And, maybe stories that you have of people at school who would maybe ask questions, or just in general in life. I'm sure that's really valuable to them. So can you tell us a bit? So you said you were a midwife. How did you come to wanting to pursue that career? What directed you in that?
So I wanted to be a teacher for a long time.
Oh, I didn't know this.
And like, it sounds really weird, but I think having a big family, and there was always like babies in our family, I was always really interested in like pregnancy and I love babies and all of that. I remember speaking to Rachel Rolfe, actually, who's a midwife as well, and just talking about it a little bit. And I was like, oh, I don't know if it's for me. Like, it's really challenging. Like, you have to work shifts and nights and do all these really like medical things that I'm not like very good at. And I kind of just thought, why not like challenge myself in a way, see how it goes, and then if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. So I decided to pursue it, and I really like fell in love with it and managed to qualify somehow.
I'm sure through hard work.
Definitely a lot of hard work, a lot of prayer as well. Definitely.
That's great. Okay, great. So I mean, you're still fairly young, but I'm sure through your walk with Christ. Sorry, that sounds wrong. It's not what I mean. But I'm sure through your walk with Christ, you've come to learn things, and you've grown in your faith. Can you kind of take us through maybe things you've learned, maybe when you arrived in Cornerstone or even before, that have stayed with you throughout your life? So I think when I was younger, in like Sunday school and stuff, we would do a lot around like Bible memorization, which I think is really important, because it's a lot easier to remember things when you're younger than it is when you're older. So at our youth groups and Sunday schools, we'd often have a lot of challenges to do for like memory verses, and I think that was really important for me, and just to like remember God's word and just have it on my mind all the time. And then I also think like more recently with like COVID and everything, just knowing that God is in control, and it doesn't matter what plans I have. I can make as many plans as I want, but actually God is the one who sees his own plans through, and they're so much better than what I could have ever imagined, even though it might not feel like it at the time. I think reflecting on some things that have happened now, I definitely think that God's plan is a lot better than mine. That's what we were learning recently, wasn't it? I mean, well, we have to learn all the time, really. Great. I do have a bit of a random question in a way, but I do wonder what it's like now as a young adult, still having your family in church and coming to the services alongside them. And I think you're still at home. I mean, you are at home at the moment. How has that changed a little bit over the years, or does it still feel like, like it was when you were younger, I guess? It definitely has changed, actually. So I think when I was younger, still kind of in my teen years, it was
was definitely a lot different than it is now. So when I finished my A-levels, I went to the States for a gap year. So my mum's American, so we have family out there. So I went to live with them for a year, which was a big change for me. Definitely being so far away from my immediate family. But it was such a great year. And I think after I came back from that, I felt like I was able to establish myself more in the church as my own kind of person. And I got involved in the student work and became a youth leader. And I think that really helped me to kind of not break away from my family, but just have my own way of serving the church and being a member of Cornerstone. Yeah.
And that's great. And I think for all of us, whoever we are, and whether we're from a Christian family or not, we have to find how we can serve personally.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helpful, actually. Great. So if you had any advice that you would give to maybe younger Christians, although it might feel like, but I'm sure there is something, maybe even people, even children who are fairly young in their faith, what would you say to them?
So I think I would advise them to get involved in their church. I think it's such an important part of the Christian life is to be part of their church, because that's your family. I remember my mum always saying, like, our family comes first, but after that it's our church family. And I really see that in how my parents live. So I think definitely getting involved in your church, in serving in as many ways as you can, because I think we can often take these things for granted. We've just seen, like, during COVID, it was really hard for us to be not be together, and that's why we did all those crazy things. But yeah, so getting involved in the church, for one thing, but also I think for myself, even though I am still quite young, I often found it quite difficult to kind of figure out what my role is as a single woman in the church. And I think over the past couple of years, I've been learning a lot about what that role is. So I think that's like my other pieces of advice is you may not feel like you fit anywhere at the moment, but you definitely have a role somewhere. You just have to be looking to find it, I think.
And we all have our gifts and contribute in some way. Oh, that's great. And I think I can speak for a lot of people in saying that it is encouraging. I mean, as a Sunday school teacher myself, to see someone who has been through the Sunday school and the youth groups and all of that, and has kept with the church and is now serving it. And as you said, it's kind of giving back, but actually not really. In just being part of the family
exactly.
of God. And that's really precious, isn't it? And I think we can thank God that He has kept you in all this time, actually. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Abby, for
having me.
Thank you. That was lovely. And thanks for listening, everyone. That's it for today's episode of Sister Stories, but join us again next time.